Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Meticulous Talks on October 7th. I am, as always, cursedchords, and tonight it is just me. We had some issues with our schedule last week, and we had to take a gap, unfortunately. But we're back, and neither of our participants were able to join me tonight. I know a couple of our other regular guests are also occupied either with the long weekend in Canada or with other items. So it's going to be me with you tonight. But that's okay. If you are coming to us from Canada, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you're spending it with your friends or loved ones. If you're coming to us from stateside or indeed from farther afield, welcome. Hope you, like me, are excited to watch some wonderful pony card content on your Saturday night, or indeed wherever and whenever you are finding this recording, if you're watching after the fact. Our two protagonists tonight are Ivory Starlight and Tom. Ivory is a player who has been a member of our tournament all three of its years that it's been running now. Unfortunately, he hasn't had the best luck in the past. I don't think he's ever made it out of the first round, actually, which is obviously unfortunate. Tonight, he's facing against a newcomer this year. Tom lives in Germany, has just kind of started, as far as I'm aware, started up with the CCG over the course of the last year and a half or so, and had kind of a breakout year this year when it came to tournament participation and success. He's actually one of our higher scoring invitees, and brought some really interesting, nifty concepts to the deck building this time. So, I don't think there's any need to have any delay for it. Let us just get straight into things. The first event, the first game tonight is going to be in core. And so Ivory and Tom, they brought a couple of different core decks. Well, they both have a Thorax deck, which is broadly not exactly the same, but pretty close. And they both have Tom's other deck is a Grogar farm, kind of a Grogar blue faster farm. And Ivory's other deck is a Reanimator list, a fairly standard Reanimator list, I'm pretty sure. Nothing particularly fancy about it. So both of them had kind of a safe choice. I think everyone kind of assumed Thorax would be one of the powerhouse mains for this tournament, as well as one somewhat more off-the-wall choice. But they both went with Thorax. So our first game is going to be aggro versus aggro. Essentially a mirror. As I mentioned, these decks there are some slight differences, but I think actually in the sideboard choices that our players made, they turned it into essentially a mirror. They got rid of all the cards that are actually different between their two decks. So, in a yellow versus yellow, aggro versus aggro match, a lot is going to come down to some things that really are beyond the control of the players. Who goes first is a big deal. The order of the problem decks is a pretty big deal, and these guys are both playing yellow. There's no pink to be seen. There's no ordering of that. So the specific time that a high bonus problem shows up, like swaying the sea ponies for those delicious 3 bonus points, or indeed something like a distracted lead actress from the opponent, which will necessitate not just using Thorax to confront it, will be a big deal. The other thing to point out, I'm kind of going through the key cards from both lists here, that is different this year for yellow on yellow Thorax versus Thorax is the inclusion of Prize Wheel, and most specifically, Scary Story. Scary Story is a card that both these decks have it in there, and I think it's extremely important in this matchup because it is a piece of yellow disruption that can target Thorax himself. Unsatisfactory work, obviously, can't hit an opponent's main. That used to be pretty much all that you had in yellow if you wanted to interact with your opponent. Scary story, setting, opposing character or friend, 0 power for the rest of the turn at immediate speed. Yeah, actually works on Thorax and is a very effective piece of disruption for the turn that it's played. So, pretty important card in this matchup now. Now, I already talked about the decks broadly. I'm going to quickly jump into the actual cards themselves here. As I mentioned, this is we're looking at Tom here first. This is a fairly standard Thorax list. I don't think there's anything that stands out as being particularly egregious, particularly different. Got all the usual Thorax goodness. The particular inclusions and strong cards that have come into it are, of course, Birds of a Feather, the Fluttershy, which can deliver a pretty absurd amount of power at immediate speed, especially considering, well, the amount of critter synergy that exists in the deck regardless, and the fact that she herself is a critter, not to be forgotten. And then from Prize Wheel as well, Antoine, for a great deal of, well, ways to dispose of those critters, again, at immediate speed, if you're playing something hasty, but yes, still the same use. Worth pointing out, this is something that people seem to forget and make mistakes out a lot. Antoine's discount only goes down to a floor of 1 AT. That can be combined with a snack stand discount to make stuff essentially free, but you can't play things for free off of Antoine himself. Ivory's sideboard is 2 Spooky Ruins, 2 Brians, and 1 Guard Geese. Guard Geese naturally going away because neither of these players have troublemakers in their decks. Spooky Ruins, neither of these players are going to be drawing on their main phase unless things have already gone wrong, basically. If Thorax is paying AT to draw cards, then you are very happy with just that situation. And as far as the face-off flip thing goes, yeah, face-off flips aren't going to matter in a game that's Thorax main on both sides. These face-offs are, by and large, going to be settled before the cards are flipped, especially as there's no chaos, I don't think. There's Brian, I guess, but that's not particularly important to matter in these lists. So that sideboard totally makes sense. We move over to Ivory's deck here. It is a little bit different. Some things moved around. He's got a couple cards difference, but this is by and large still Thorax. Not a whole lot else to say. As I mentioned, the cards that are different, the focused attention is getting getting boarded out. Again, because it is an anti-troublemaker tool, and there's nothing to be said about that here. Spooky Ruins as well, Guard Geese as well. I didn't really talk about Tom taking out the Bryans in his list. Brian is an anti-resource tool, and there's like basically the only resources that you care about on the opponent's side are the snack stands, and they are pretty important. Having one out effectively can be used basically every turn. Quickly check to see if there are any other resource removal things in this deck. I mean, yeah, there's Raccoon Rampages and such as well, I suppose. Sorry. That was Ivory's deck. Tom's here. Sure. Yeah, he has other tools. Oh, Tom's deck actually doesn't have Raccoon Rampage in it. So I guess by getting rid of the Bryans, he is effectively yielding to a snack stand if Ivory gets it into play. But Brian's utility as an anti-control tool against dismissal or forced movement, etc., is obviously less useful. matchup. So I understand the sideboard choice. So those are the two decks. As mentioned, this is a good old aggro versus aggro slugfest. Game's probably not going to be over. Well, yeah, probably not going to take too long. Is likely to come down a lot to a couple key turns here and there. When someone, catches a big 3 bonus off of a double face off where Swaying the Sea Pony showed up, or a significant roadblock thrown up by a scary story that stops a DFO from happening. These are the turns upon which an aggro versus aggro match swings. So we'll try to watch out for those. Otherwise, let's get into it. Here we have set up Tom on the left, Ivory on the right. Are still rolling to see who goes first. Pretty important roll, an Ivory versus aggro match, and Ivory with a 19 is a good start.
All right.
Okay, I will choose to go first.
Sure. Makes sense.
And naturally, he will be going first. Both players have fairly reasonable hands here. Ivory's got a lot of entry in a bunyip. Tom has a snack stand, featherweight, and adoption options to get his
Sure,
bunyip
why
later.
not? I'll keep this.
Yeah, also keep.
Okay, are you both ready to start?
Yep.
All right.
All right. I think he said yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I said yes.
All right, sorry. Then the clock will start.
Yeah, I said yeah.
Good luck to you both.
All
Yeah.
right. Start of turn, gain 2,
Both these
and I will
players
pass
are
turn.
starting with Concerning Cutie Mark. Obviously, they would be starting Buckball, except that Buckball is banned in the Invitational. Concerning Cutie Mark is the most natural replacement. It is still a problem that
All right.
you can confront
Yellow.
very easily.
Pass.
Okay.
Tom plays his
Gain
featherweight
2, draw.
to the problem. Won't get
Turn
the eager
2.
draw, but
Move up thorax.
prepping for
Trigger
it.
gummy.
He got one more turn of value out of his snack
Play
stand, which
1.
is an AT saved.
Where are you, Brian? And then I am at 1, 2, only 3, so I'll move to score phase and attempt concerning.
Yep.
Interest. So Ivory, for
Flip
example,
that.
could have played the snack stand that turn as well. He had the AT left over for the one more that it would have cost him. But in this way, he saves his AT for later as well.
Pass turn.
All right. Ready. AT. Start of turn. Draw. Technically troublemaker phase. All right. What's
And at the top is obviously what he wants.
So yeah, that's.
And with the snack stand in play, he can play it for free. Oh, he's not going to have. Yeah, I guess he won't have enough yellow to play it this turn.
Move thorax. Attempt to confront.
Sure.
Flip thorax, or yeah, you know what I mean. And pass.
Yeah. Alrighty. Gain 2.
Both
draw.
players are in the good spot, and probably we're just gonna see 2 bunyips played here this turn.
Pay 2 for my own snack stand.
1 for each.
I'll exhaust snack stand for bunyip. And I'll move to score phase in attempt concerning.
Yep.
Alright. Pass back to you.
And this is an interesting position to be in. I guess. See if Tom plays the bunyip. Or maybe, actually, since he's got the snack stand, maybe he can EFO.
Alright. Bunyip for free.
Yes, that's what he's going to do.
Okay.
Oh, I could. Yeah, no, this one. Or would it? No, it wouldn't. 3 critters.
Okay.
That's 4 over there. It looks like Tom will secure the first face-off. The outcome of this one is Tom's
Attempt to
probably got
confront your
this with
problem.
his critter
Yep,
tokens.
you get it.
Bunjip trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Attempt to confront my problem.
Yep.
Double face off. Oh, and Thorax is a bit stronger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hmm?
I think I should win this. 14.
I think, yes, Tom has a healthy advantage. So he secures himself a 2-point lead. It's a good way to end your early game.
Yep, you'll get that.
But yes,
Bonus 1.
problems that come up here will be
Problems get
pretty
reduced.
essential.
Everyone goes
And there's that swaying the sea ponies, and there's the other swaying the sea ponies.
Home limit. Home limit is
2
fine,
big ones.
actually.
Both players will get the
And then
benefit
it's your
of the
turn.
trigger from having that problem.
3 actions.
Be a little bit of wasted
Draw.
points though, because the high bonuses, you only score one of the bonuses off the DFL.
2 will move Thorax up. Trigger swaying. Move up. Brian with them.
That
Exhaust. To
Sure
pay
confront?
1
I think it
less.
is.
For kind pony.
Certainly is
I'll
now.
bounce featherweight back to your hand.
Bouncing featherweight to deny
And
the
I'll
eager
move
draw.
to score
Makes
phase
sense.
and attempt swaying.
Okay. Carry story on Thorax.
Okay. And I will pass turn.
Okay.
Alright.
Ready, AT, start of turn, draw just 1.
As mentioned, those scary stories are significant resources. Tom's got another one, which is pretty lucky on his part. Going to be able to establish at least a 3-point lead here. Indeed, if he goes for the single face-off,
Okay.
or if he's able to do that, but he might be able to do that.
Yeah, I can choose where to put the. But yeah, I'm gonna put it.
Yeah, if you move Thorax up, I suppose he could. Then he might be able to secure an even more impressive lead here.
And I pass the turn.
Okay.
Uh,
Gain 3.
Guess saving that AT for keep his scary story alive. Ivory's part. Now, Ivory, without a defend the hive, is definitely not going to be able to DFO here.
Okay.
Well, no, neither player
2
can DFO
for
here.
adoption options.
But
Yeah, I get it. Oh wait, you.
adoption options. Bunyip, Brian, Antoine. I think it's the usual 3. The other reason I could get any others here. Oh, right. Here again, I forgot myself that
These are my 3
Fluttershy was a
critters.
critter.
All right, you can put it in your hand. I've looked at them.
So yeah, Bunyip can be free.
Exhaust.
Almost always
and
good to play when you've got a
Bunyip
chance to
free.
do it. Jump a bit. As mentioned, Ivory is still vulnerable to single face off at that swing as he ponies.
3-2 for Antoine.
Antoine, I think, allows him to dodge it because he can retire his critters at immediate speed. He has.
There's 5.
I have to count the
of
thorax
those.
here.
Let's go ahead and make this a 7.
7. Oh yeah, he.
And
Oh no, he
I'll
can't.
move
Or
to
wait,
Gore phase and
down
attempt
to.
my swaying.
No, actually, yeah, he can't.
Front is good.
Well,
Wait, why?
Alright.
Oh, right.
if he went super
And
crazy,
I'll pass turn.
he could dodge a single face off there.
Ready?
Start like all of his critters.
Draw 1 card.
Be questionable at best.
Alright, let's see. Alright then. Kind as can be. Move Sox. Attempt to confront for 2 points.
Give me 1 second here.
We're at 15 unity and over the confront by 5 or more. So that's the threat to maintain his lead and let me count these. 10, 12, 13, 14. It's a close single face off.
10,
Um,
12, 14
though
power
Tom is
there.
holding the.
Yep. So the confront is fine. I'll respond by putting Bad Hair Day into play.
Tom is holding
And
the
I think
scary
we have a
story, which
face-off here.
effectively wins the face off for him if he needs to use it.
14, 15.
So I have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 20.
Alright, Scary Sorry on Thorax. On your Thorax, of course.
Okay. That would put
Excuse me a second
down by quite a lot, I think. 4, 5, 9. You said you're at 14, so yep, you'll get that.
So that is a crucial 3 points. Sets him up at 10 versus 5.
And I think I made a minor mistake of not retiring critters for Antoine, or how it's called.
Bringing out your best will name critter.
This is a tough position to be in if you're Ivory. Granted,
So
he draws a
home.
scary story or something like that. He can get it back by
Guess I get rid of 2 critters.
throwing that
Your turn.
pediment
Okay.
in Thorax's momentum on the other side. But a second Fluttershy is
I'll exhaust snack stand.
not really the best draw at the moment.
I'll retire Gummy from Antoine.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 less for Birds of a Feather.
Yeah, this should be a double. Yeah.
And then 2 for Kind Pony, and I'll bounce Kind as Can Be.
Ivory, yeah, with critter named over it, bring out your best. He can DFO here
So 1,
fairly
2,
easily.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thorax is still at the correct amount.
Has easily enough critters. Oh, yeah, easily enough critters to confront. Bring out your best over there.
So score phase, attempt swaying.
Yeah, go to double face off. I mean, I know how you can do a double face off.
Yeah.
This
I have one. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 critters currently. So I'm just gonna put 5 over here, confront this, and then we do the double.
And this is what Ivory needs to do. Stay in the game.
Brian, I suppose there's no reason not to put Brian into play.
Close. 3 more points.
Yeah, you win, of course.
I'll have a lot of home limiting to do.
Interesting.
Pro heist and
Heist and distracted.
Lead
Okay.
actress. Lead actress isn't bad for Ivory. Having Birds of a Feather is a lot easier. Pearl heist, however, right? We are at 4 points on the board. Tom does have the frightened bunyip, as well as his kind as can be in hand. But with just 4 AT, because of the Antoine, it's possible there may be a line. Suppose he has no options, but doesn't have enough AT, I think, to be able to play that and the bunyip and DFO comes off of it. So I think he has a way to win the game this turn. He can probably get to 14,
Okay.
which is
did I retire?
almost
No, I
as
retired
good.
the right amount because Thorax home limits 5, and I'm at the right amount of
Since Ivory is
counters.
also out of AT.
So, pass turn.
Unlikely to strike back himself.
One order, but don't really matter.
And the hive helps a lot.
Interesting. Alright. Exhaust next and retire a critter
Mhm.
to play Kind Pony for free. This should work. The Anton reduces it to 1, then next end reduces it to 0. And I bounce your entry.
Okay. This one is in my hand.
Oh, and so move Thorax.
Sure.
Attempt to confront Pearl Haste.
Mhm.
Move Thorax again.
Okay.
Attempt to confront Distracted Lead Actress. Double face off.
Sure.
Yep.
Yep. You'll
Pretty
get that,
straightforward
obviously.
stuff.
I win. Bonus 2.
Yeah, going to 14 means that Ivory needs to either win the game this turn. Problems are. Working
And
Cider
your
is
turn.
7.
Okay, that's a 7.
Or needs to have some way
Are
to
we
stop Tom
ready?
from winning next turn, which is
5
hard.
draw.
Defend the defend the hive
Spend 1 and draw.
helps, of course. He has no point acceleration, does Ivory. Search either. Most points he can possibly score this turn is 4.
Spend 1 and draw. One more time.
Okay. There's Fluttershy.
Exhaust snack stand.
Way to make this work now. Does have a lot of burst potentially. A lot of critters can come into play very quickly with Birds of a Feather.
A1.
Puts Antoine into play. You can play one friend super cheap
Play Antoine.
because of the floor on the discount. He already used his snack stand.
I'll exhaust Birds of a Feather to create 6 critter tokens.
Well, Tom is floating that 1AT. He doesn't have any disruption at the moment. That can stop Ivory if he has found a way to pull this off. I don't know. He needs to save the 1 AT, I think, to defend the Hive Thorax to
So that's 6 power
unsparkling.
there.
Otherwise, he's not going to confront it. I don't know if there's a way for him to do this.
One more down. Yeah. So we'll put all of them at distracted lead actress.
Okay. For sure confronting there.
I will retire 3 critter friends.
I think he is. Made that mistake.
I screwed that up. Actually, that's really
Yeah,
unfortunate.
For a minimum of 1, I made the same mistake in another game. Yeah.
Very easy mistake to make. Remembering which discounts have floors and which do not. Fortunately, without any disruption in his hand, and T to draw probably means
do
Ivory
anything about that?
has
Probably not. Let me think.
out of this.
Oh well.
Going to play it out. Okay, he does at least have the trigger, kind as can be. He is at Unity 15. And actually, yes, he can pull a Bunyip out too. He can score 3 points. But, well, not enough. That's a shame, really, for him. Legitimately just 1 AT short. And actually, I think didn't play. I don't remember if he played the Antoine. There might have actually been a line where he was able to do that right.
Yeah, I don't have anything that will stop you from just confronting next turn, so we can wrap up game 1 here.
Alright, fair enough.
And that's game 1. So, as I kind of mentioned at the start, yeah, came down to some rough, well, I don't say rough draws per se. Ivory was able to execute his game plan fairly well. Tom just was able to establish enough tempo with the scary stories that he was able to play. That one to swing that 3-point face-off was a pretty huge momentum swing, and effectively set him up as 1 turn in the lead. At that point, even if they just traded DFOs, Tom was going to get there first, and Ivory didn't draw his disruption. So, in those aggro versus aggro matchups, sometimes that's just how it goes. So, brings us, therefore, we are brought, therefore, to game 2, the adventure matchup. Here in adventure, Tom has Luna deck and a Yonabar farm list. And Ivory has a farm deck, Ambassador Dash, one of his old standbys, old favorites, as well as a control deck, Tempest Blue. This is an interesting choice for both of them. Tom, like, when you're up a game in the Invitational, there's you're kind of in an interesting position because you do have that game to give, as it were. You can afford potentially to pick your weaker deck in the game 2 matchup if you think that gives you a strong matchup in game 3. Whereas, of course, if you're in Ivory's position, you've got to go with whatever you think gives you the maximum chance to win, because, of course, you don't have that game to yield. So, with all that said, in this choice coming up, Ivory went with Tempest deck, purple-blue control. Tom went with the white farm deck. Yona, sandbar. So, let's talk about Ivory first. This is Tempest, blue, obviously, red. He is the only member of the tournament who brought Tempest blue. There were 2 Tempest pinks, and Cheese has Tempest orange. And Bugle has Tempest blue in core. Ivory is the only one who brought this Tempest blue control deck in adventure. So, kind of on the theme that we've seen with purple blue, certainly in this tournament and in the past. There's a lot of AT generation here between Tranquility, Trixie, read the manual. Last minute changes isn't AT generation, but it is a lot of AT that you can save with it if you play it properly. And utilizing the tech of Citywide Shield from the second prize wheel with Interdimensional Portal and Doctor Who's and Luna's Future, and indeed changed the kind of super tech of being able to remove lots of opposing stuff. This is a pretty strong control list in that sense. Lots of removal for the 2 colors that don't normally have lots of removal to their names. For his sideboard, Ivory opted to get rid of a single Sirens, a single Citywide Shield, and 3 Zikoras. And that much of that is kind of down to the fact that Tom's deck is quite short on friends. It is just the 3 Garbles, which are obviously huge targets for removal if they do get into play, but it's fair to say that Ivory's deck has a few too many pieces of removal if there's just 3 friends that need to be going out. Ivory is much more afraid of having a hand jammed up with removal for friends that aren't in play than he is afraid of having a Garble stick around and him not being able to deal with it. For his keycards, I have chosen here Trixie and Daring Do as AT generators. Probably the best in this deck. Oh, read the manual, it's there. And the others, but these are the ones that seem to really, really power a deck through. Daring Do in the mid game once you start confronting problems. Trixie in the early game, especially. Early game Trixie is such a powerful play for purple decks these days because there's so many events that go into kind of ramping the deck up. Tranquility being the big one, but others in there as well. And then Twilight and Spike is probably the main weapon. Excuse me. For this deck against a farm deck, this being purple-blue, we don't have access to pink problem replacement or much of the force movement in purple. So this is Twilight and Spike is probably the biggest card that Tom does not want to see hit play because it is a repeatable way to take his main off of problems and stop him from farming his troublemakers. And then Luna's Future is a piece of removal, and you have Citywide Shield out. It's also one of the pieces of resource removal in this deck. Tom's deck does rely on Staff of Zakonis and also on Leia's Greatest Creation. He is one of the few people in this tournament, may possibly be because Leia's Great's abandoned core, who has the kind of wishboard style with Leia's Great's creation, with a lot of key cards hiding in his sideboard. So that all makes sense on Ivory's side. Over in Tom's deck, as mentioned, this is Yona, Sandbar, Farm. Sideboard is much more spread out. Singleton cards of, see if I can remember what all was in there. I have it written down here somewhere. Yes, it's a single copy of It's Gonna Work, Fit of Peak, Cracking the Case, Thapos Akonis, Grogar. All, again, all important pieces for various purposes that he might want to have later. For those unfamiliar with this deck, it is a kind of an interesting approach to farming with white, kind of all based on the idea, based on Yona and Sandbar's text, that once it's flipped over, if you play a card with a white requirement, you can give one of your characters or friends +2 power. And so, utilizing immediate speed white events, you turn this into a farming deck. White does not have a huge amount of events that are great in a farming context, though it has it has a good amount. Wrinkle in Time, I've got up there. Costume Change is also, funnily enough, pretty good. You do have to use it in a pretty specific way to get its maximum benefits, but it is cheap. Fit of Peak is played for free, of course. Yeah. And then, this being a farm deck, throw in Garble as well, because obviously, why wouldn't you? There is, I don't know if there's a way this deck can ever play it, but it is the only possible thing that can come out of a Pony of Shadows. So, if you play a Pony of Shadows, you know that it's going to be coming into play. Garble, a huge powerhouse farming card with the discard and the chance for extra points once your opponent starts to run low on cards. Kind of a, I don't want to say no-brainer per se. There are some farming decks that don't put him in, but he's really good. So, with those two. Also, sorry, should mention, Reliving History. That's a pretty significant one because Ivory, being in purple-blue, as I said, Twilight and Spike is one of his main weapons against Tom's strategy. Reliving History, being able to undo a move at immediate speed, is one of Tom's principal ways to strike back against that, to get his main back up to the problem once Ivory's tried to move it away, and continue with his face-off, or challenge a troublemaker that Ivory tried to keep him away from, or something to that effect. So that's likely to be a very important card in this matchup. So, with that summary taken, we've got Control versus Farm. These matchups tend to go with Farm kind of having the advantage early. The Farm kind of game plan does not require a whole lot of time to get started. In the case of Yona and Sandbar, it's a little bit more because you do have to spend 2 turns. You have to spend 2 turns always flipping your main over, and those are turns that you probably can't be farming troublemakers. It's kind of the whole deal of your main doesn't start until it's flipped over. So you do have to sacrifice those 2 turns at the start. But once those 2 turns have gone by, you can go off to the races, challenge a Pony of Shadows, get your Garble out, and you're going. Well, meanwhile, Ivory is going to be trying to get set up, trying to get his AT in play, trying to get his colors fixed. He is starting with transitions because this is adventure, obviously. So the color fixing isn't going to be as big of a deal. And then hopefully get himself set up with a strong AT kind of income, whether it be from Trixie and Daring Do, etc. A Twilight and Spike in play, enough removal to get rid of any Garbles that come down, and hopefully get a handle on the game from that position. So, if this game ends quickly, it's probably going to be Tom that wins. If it goes long, well, then it gets a bit tricky, but Ivory's got a much better chance at it. So, with that all said, get on to game 2.
All right. Well, in that case, let's draw 6 cards.
Ivory is going first
Sure,
as well,
why not?
which is
Thinking.
being Tempest. That's fairly important. You get to guaranteed have your rubber come out from the start. Against this deck is not a whole, this deck being Tom's deck, there's not a whole lot of really obvious fits because there is no entry to take away. You're kind of just looking for whatever is the most dangerous card in your opponent's hand. Maybe if they only have one epic, you get rid of that. Although it's like Yona and Sandbar obviously have no problem with just paying to draw if they need to exhaust their
Yeah,
AT reserves in their opening
Okay.
hands.
I
Both players
will
liking their opening hands again.
name blue for this. King 2.
Excuse me again.
Why not? Let's
Oh, yep.
let's do the Tempest thing
Ivory's going
now.
to start with the usual start. Does have a hand with a lot of strong threats in it. He's got 2 of his Twilight and Spikes. He's got
Alright,
a
let's see that
Trixie.
hand.
He's missing a little bit of early game
Okay.
AT generation. Not many events to go with that Trixie yet, but looks pretty good for Ivory to get started with. Based on this hand,
Okay, we
it's
have
a
a
little
Garble, a Corner,
interesting.
a Reliving,
You might think
Pony of Shadows,
Garble's an
a
obvious one
Winter
here,
Zilla, and a Chrono Trigger.
but Garble in hand is actually really hard for Tom to play. You'd actually prefer it to be in hand than in the deck, probably. You might actually want to get rid of that Pony of Shadows instead.
Let's go ahead and get rid of... which of these do I want least?
Of course, he does have an Epic to play, even if Pony of Shadows goes away.
Probably gonna say get rid of Garble.
Okay.
But Ivory does get rid of the Garble,
Okay.
which, like, as I mentioned, it's hard for Tom to play, but it's not impossible. His main can
And
get
that's my
high
turn.
enough. I don't remember actually if that deck has Rushed Makeover or Speech or anything in it. But like, in principle,
Pay 1 to draw.
the main can get
Okay.
to a high enough power that it can get, if it can get switched over into yellow, it would have enough requirement for Garble. So I don't know if I necessarily agree, I guess is what I'm saying. Looks like he's gonna play out his epics.
Thinking.
That was a
Well,
Starlight
I'm
Glimmer.
definitely playing a Troublemaker. I'm thinking which.
Okay.
Considering which one which here, it's gonna be the Pony Shadows or the Starlight. Zilla is obviously quite useless on this board. Starlight would be a fairly natural play. Although, again, main can't possibly flip over for another 2 turns. But he does opt for Starlight.
And your turn and trigger.
Okay.
I'm just gonna do it like that.
Sure. Gain 1 and draw.
Scout out is interesting.
I think I'll just bank and pass.
Could have played that for another Grubber, but I guess he knows what his opponent's
Drop
hand is, and it's
Troublemaker.
wasn't
face.
particularly scared of anything in there.
And I move my mains. And when this card is uncovered, you may move, so... Yeah.
And it makes sense, of course, to
It's actually not
wait
a choice,
for those opening troublemakers.
Alright,
See how bad the
so
situation
I'm
looks
gonna do it like this because it's
before
automatic, it's only
using any of that AT.
So yeah, main phase. Yeah, alright. My main gets +2.
Mm-hmm.
My main gets +2 again. Attempt to confront surprise concert.
Sure.
But playing the Winter Zelda is an interesting
End
thing.
of turn, second friendship
Um,
counter. My main is turned over, and your turn.
It has no
Okay.
targets to hit, and it might
Two
not by next turn.
and
He could have spent
draw.
that AT to just draw a card, but then of course he wouldn't have confronted. Is the 1 point that important? That's an interesting thing.
I'll pay 2.
It is. It's an interesting question. I guess as mentioned, this is
Trixie.
likely going to be a Tom is trying to score as many points as possible because generally, if things go long, the control deck will get a handle on things. So perhaps in that
For
sense, the 1
Trixie.
point is worth sacrificing a card in this case for. And also sacrificing the
Alright.
utility of being able to potentially use
Exhaust
that Winterzilla later.
Trixie's to gain AT.
Double Trixies from Ivory.
I think I just passed the turn from there.
Pretty good start.
Alright, so I hope I miss nothing. So first I gain a T. Oops. Then the start of turn trigger from Starlight happens, banishing 2 cards. Face
So
up.
Laser, Rubber, Sirens, and Crystal Mind Cage. I do apologize. Those are off screen. I'm gonna fix that for the next
Yeah. So
the next
then
games
I
that we
draw
do.
a
Make sure to
card.
make that not a problem anymore.
Then it's Troublemaker phase. I uncover the epic Troublemaker, and the Starlight Glimmer goes. Then I challenge Pony of Shadows.
Pony
Sure.
of Shadows is a little bit
Split
of a
the
gamble.
six, so 9 total.
Doesn't have
You're
anything to
also
do,
at
but
9 total thinking.
well, I
Yeah, we
suppose he
can flip
could have
again.
played with Reliving History with no target.
Flip the 5, you flip the 4, so I should win this.
Up by 1.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so I get a point and Pony of Shadows triggers. Wait, what was it? The trigger was before I put the cards on the bottom, right?
I believe here,
Yeah, so you'll do the reveal, find
as the
your
players-
friend, and then after you
Okay.
shuffle your deck, you put your flip cards on bottom.
as we all know that Tom's deck has just the covers in it, I believe we agree to shortcut this. It is it is a agreeable shortcut to simply search for a grubber and then shuffle afterwards.
I know you only have Grubber as your only friend in the deck. If you want to just search for Grubber and then shuffle your deck to speed it up, you can.
Alright, yeah, then I'm gonna do that. Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna put Grubber here.
Sure.
So... Shuffle. And now they go to the bottom. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what? There.
Nope. This
And
is
then
the
I
fairly
challenge
standard
the other Troublemaker.
Pony of Shadows play for the double farm.
Sure.
Grubber triggers.
Alright, I discard
9,
a card.
5, 11. Yeah, Tom's up in this one as well.
And I still have less cards in hand than you. So I flip the 5, you flip the 3, so I think I should win this.
Let me think here, because I still have to discard, and then I do want to do something.
Ah, well.
Ivory's thinking he wants to do something. The only real
oh, right, that's the card I flipped.
option is Portal. He could Portal Grubber. That is an option here.
I'll discard that.
For a savings of 2 points. And also prevent a DFO, which would perhaps he saves the portal for. Like actually, portaling Grubber here is well.
Your opponent
You don't
has
portal him
fewer
here.
cards in
Oh.
hand than you. That's fine. Yep, you'll win the face-off.
Okay, bonus 2.
Ivory allows those 2 points to go through.
What? There. Wait, what? There. Yeah, and then it goes to the bottom. All right. So let's.
You should be at 4, not 5.
All right. Yeah, TTS was a bit slow, which led to me pressing it more often than I should. Anyway, what do I have here? All right. So let's see. Yeah, sure. I'm just gonna play corner to give Jonah +4.
Okay.
Right.
And
You have to.
then attempt to confront trading traditions.
Pretty sure Ivory has to
Attempt to confront
portal
surprise concept.
Grubber. Oh no, you let it go through.
Sure.
Double face off. Gobble trigger.
Okay. So Ivory saves the portal, but it means he's going to lose his
Well, first you flip your card and then gobble triggers.
blue.
Yeah. You'll win the face-off.
I think I already gave me that 1 point. Yeah. So yeah, they go.
Oh yeah.
Home. You've discarded the card for gobble.
We'll see. Ivory doesn't have any blue entry,
It's your turn.
so he's
Okay.
gonna need to draw some. He's got 6 AT.
Oops.
We'll see what he's able to do. Oops, not bad. Oh, it's not blue, but not bad.
I'll spend 1 and draw. Spend 1
Trying
and
to
draw.
Twilight, that's not good. Okay. Never sad to draw Tranquility.
Tranquility.
It's not once either. So it is a playable card.
Counters on Trixie. I'm just gonna immediately exhaust both Trixies to gain 2 AT.
I should mention, especially when you have Trixie out. Tranquility is such a good draw when you have
Spend
Trixies
1
out.
draw. Sure, why not? Wait, what is the 5 and 6? We'll put Trixie up here. Gets a counter, but I'm immediately exhausting again.
Portal. Not so useful right now. Well, useful for disruption, for the moment. If Tom does Tom's not gonna be able to do a face-off next turn, but still useful to have. Piece of disruption he can play. Draws another portal.
I'll pass turn, and end of turn, I will discard one of those and one of those. And back to you.
Okay. Still reasonable, but Ivory's gonna be really hoping he can draw some blue entry soon. A lot of stuff in his hand that requires it.
Wait, how much do I need? 8. Okay.
Doesn't have the AT right now to use his portals either.
Okay, so
But it's likely to be a fairly
play a
open turn, as it were.
Yeah.
Troublemaker getting played. I'm just gonna be setting up to his farming.
It's gonna work. This is supposed to be my problem at method overacting and guess garbage or what's the plan anyway? Then was, yeah, I guess Garble gets +2, but it also won't matter because I'm gonna move Garble here. And then it's your turn.
Okay.
Just getting set up.
Ready. Gain 4. Draw for turn.
Feature is at least playable, but not what Ivory wanted. So, looking at this hand, not really much worth playing in it right now.
I'll
Luna's
pay
Future,
2
right.
for Luna's Future to banish Garble until the end of the turn.
Okay.
This gains him 1 AT
Counters
to play that,
Trixies.
and
I'll exhaust this Trixie, gain 1, and then I'll spend that 1 to draw. Exhaust this Trixie, spend a counter to draw.
Manual Citywide Shield, all great
And
cards.
this one.
Still no blue entry, though. Grogar is probably. I mean, he could. No, it is a. Well, he could play it and replace it with a Grubber. That's not an awful play,
Then 1 and draw.
but probably more of a
Why not?
liability.
Tranquility. Counters on the Trixies.
Second Tranquility. Like, I am legitimately impressed with Purple's ability to generate such a pile of AT in the current game as it is with Prize Wheel.
Rock, you showing favoritism to Purple over there? Let's see.
But even more so, Ivory's looking at a hand
Spend 1 and draw.
that needs blue entry real badly. Oh. Third Grogar.
Okay. End of turn.
That is unfortunate.
Discard 1 of those, 1 of those.
As mentioned, he still has some things he can do. Still has those 2 portals. He would really prefer to use those 2 portals once the Citywide Shield is in play. But the Grogar does, not Grogar, no. Garble doesn't come back, or rather does come back, but then immediately leaves again, for good. But they are still worthwhile. There are still useful pieces of disruption to delay Tom for 1 turn. So all is not yet lost for Ivory, but now he's having to discard some pretty useful things because his hand's full.
And 1 of those. And at the end of the turn, Garble will go back into play at your home.
So that's how it works. Okay.
And back to you.
All right.
80.
So,
Draw.
if you're Tom,
Troublemaker face.
are still in the kind of usual farming position of, well, move something up to a problem, get ready to challenge it next turn. He doesn't really have any
Move my main and pass.
things in his hand to change that. So, yeah. Using his main means that those portals are not useful anymore on Tom's side, on Ivory's side, rather. Hey! There's some blue entry. Suddenly everything opens up. Especially with 7 AT, with those Trixies all powered up. So,
Okay, move to main phase.
now I can do
I'll
things.
exhaust these Trixies.
So we're going to see an explosion of activity on Ivory's side of the field. Does still have a read the manual for more AT. He's got a Twilight and Spike. He's got a Daring Do. Got a Citywide Shield. Garble is gone this turn. Well, at least whenever he decides to play a Doctor Who's or a Portal.
Sorry, paid one too few. Too many, I mean.
And
I'll
Tom
play
is
a
still
Ruffled Pages.
only at 7 AT. Although admittedly, well, yeah. Ivy needs to save 2 AT to use Twilight and Spike. Or else
Exhaust
let
Trixie.
Tom challenge Trixie.
Pay 3 for read the manual to gain 5.
Right.
And that actually is banished, so you can go over there. Two, three. Ultimate Organizers.
Yeah, it is the one I feared. Oh
And
well.
I think we might have missed the counters on those Trixies, fortunately.
Yes.
Oh, nope, there we go.
Mandatory.
It
Yeah,
is
it's
mandatory.
And Trixie counters are mandatory. So watch out for them. So that's
And
in
I will
play.
pay 1 for Citywide Shield.
One there.
I'll activate Ultimate Organizers to move Yonabar home.
Let's shortcut this. I'm gonna play this and move it right back.
Okay. And I'll move Tempest up.
And guess my main gets +2.
Sure. And I'll pass
Yeah.
turn.
So Tom had the reliving history, was able to
Alright.
counteract that. He is going to be able to challenge
You want
Trixie.
to do something before I draw?
I don't have any triggers I would like to do before you
Okay.
draw.
Then I draw.
That means he is probably going to be able to
So
get Trixie
over
here.
6. I lose it.
He doesn't have anything that he can do to boost his main. So this is not a free face-off by any stretch. Though he does have the flip advantage. Down 3 is not free.
Yeah, sure. I'm still gonna challenge the Troublemaker Garble Trigger.
Okay.
Flip the 4, you flip the 2, so yeah, you win the face off. Yeah.
And I do have to discard.
Yeah.
That loss is that's good for Ivory.
Okay.
Another turn that he has to set up things.
Yes, I'll draw.
Living History is another good draw for Tom, though. It buys him
Yeah,
a chance to
still
try.
gonna move Garble and pass.
Okay. Five.
Okay.
Draw.
So, changed there is 2 Garbles gone, which would be all of them. He got rid of that one in
After drawing
Tom's
a
opening hand.
card, I will pay 2 for Dr. Hooves, and I will banish Garble, and when he enters play, he's immediately gone from Citywide Shield.
Well, that's Garble gone anyway.
And I'll challenge your Pony of Shadows.
Yep.
Ivory, of course, does not fear challenging Pony of Shadows
Garble
because
gets, and another
Garble is
gets
just going to
banished.
get banished straight away, and that's all of them gone. Which unfortunately means all the removal in Ivory's hand is now kind of useless.
And
Well, it's not
Garble's
useless.
Oh well.
Portal is still useful on his own stuff.
Right.
But that changed is definitely
Okay. And
just a dead card now.
I'll pay 2 for Daring Do. I'll exhaust these Trixies. This is what, 6? 5. We'll exhaust this Trixie as well. I should be at 4. That's fine. I will move to Spore Phase and attempt method.
Yep.
And I'll pass turn.
Alright. AT draw, unless you want to do something before that.
Nope. You're
So?
good to go. Oh, did I miss this? I have a mandatory trigger to gain 1 AT when I confront.
It was also mandatory.
Let's see.
But yeah, this is starting to look a lot better for Ivory. He is still down a significant
Oh,
margin, but he's got a full
Costume
hour.
change does nothing except giving my main +2.
Sure.
Latest greatest, then my main's at 7.
Okay.
And this card, let's see.
Of the cards
These are
in
his
Tom's
card Pony of
sideboard right now, I
Shadows.
think it's the staff card that he wants.
And
Oh,
this is a card
no
that
work.
I reveal.
Okay. That for
Okay.
the
Then
getting a
I'm
troublemaker into
gonna
play?
play it to get rid of
Oh, for the banish.
this, and my main should be at 7.
Well,
or...
yeah. That's
no,
a pretty
no,
huge
it's the
deal.
third card I played at 9. Okay, so how much power do you have?
No more Twilight and Spike. And we know Ivory discarded a bunch of his other ones,
9 versus 10.
which is
okay.
a real shame.
So what was the plan? The plan was... yeah, the plan was to finally get rid of this Trixie. Yeah, that was it. Alright. Move my main and pass.
Okay.
Oh, you did banish it. Alright.
4. For turn.
Oh. Ivory kind of needs another Twilight and Spike. It's probably his only option. He's only out right now.
Spend 1 and draw.
Granted, a reasonable chance Tom won't win this face-off right yet. His hand's still very low, as it were. But he can probably score points faster than Ivory can, given this board state. And Ivory, is already somewhat vulnerable to a single face-off. More stuff Ivory plays, the more true that's going to be. Night vision is not relevant. I don't actually remember.
I'll play last minute changes.
Okay.
Counters on the Trixies.
How
I'm
many
just gonna exhaust these right away.
Twilight and Spikes Ivory discarded? Probably has left in his deck still.
Read the manual.
Ivory did miss his last minute changes trigger there. But lesson for you all: last minute changes is optional on both effects. So the judge is under no obligation to tell you that you missed it. So again, keep that in mind.
Hope it's. Yeah, just hope. Yeah, it will probably be correct. Two judges are watching.
For Tranquility, again. Never sad
Tranquility.
about drawing that. Of course, now all the entry comes.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, all 3 tranquilities in the discard pile. Right.
Oh wait, that's. I'm pretty sure I screwed that all up, but I don't really have the energy to deal with it. I'm gonna have a lot of AT. Score phase, attempt to confront.
Yep, go ahead. And you have your triggers. Yeah.
And back to you.
Alright,
oh wait, I
do
have
it.
hand limit. Discard these two.
So,
Okay.
yeah, AT,
Oh
draw.
yeah, a lot depends on if Tom
Um,
wins this
yeah,
face-off.
Troublemaker phase, challenge Trixie.
And I think that is
3, 10 versus 9, so I should win this.
Yep.
Alright,
2.
bonus 2.
Does have another epic.
So, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, this should work. Alright. No, wait. This doesn't cost 80. Yep. And I'm gonna play it right away.
There's some
Okay.
staff.
So my main's at 6. Play a Troublemaker. So
He is not confronting this
oh,
turn
yeah.
yet.
I have something to return. I think you don't. Oh, right, you could put it from this card. Oh no, here just in case. Alright, then I'm gonna pay 1. Well, it's a shortcut. I pay 0 and then I pay 1 to put it back in my hand, and I'm gonna banish your grubber. And then my main is at 8 power.
Okay.
Alright, well, so we will confront.
Attempt to confront.
Sure.
10, 2 more from that Starlight. He's out of epics now. It's tenuous. The window is closing for Ivory, though. Especially if he can't find Spike. Got one. I'm really wishing I had searched the discard pile when I was observing this game.
I'll go ahead and concede this because I already know there's stop you from just camping that problem and beating up the troublemakers. I needed to be able to protect my ultimate organizers, and I also don't have enough of left because I had to dig for entry.
All right. Well, that is that. Yeah, that came down to Ivory missing his entry off the top there. Yep, had to get rid of some of his Twilight and Spikes there. Then the one that he had left over got banished by Tom. I'm not sure why Ivory didn't use his portal to prevent that DFO early that lost him his training traditions. I didn't really see a reason not to use it there, especially given that he didn't have any blue entry in his hand. But perhaps there was more to that. I was looking forward to having him on stream tonight. Unfortunately, what with the schedule and everything, that wasn't able to be the case. But oh well, that was our game 3 of the Invitational. So, quick look over at our updated bracket. You guys wouldn't have had a chance to see this after the second quarterfinal match because Bugle and Pancake didn't have access to it, but this is the way the tournament is looking right now. So, through to the semifinals are Tom, who will go on to face Bugle, and Grandpa's still waiting for the finish, the winner of the Hithrock versus Big Cheese match. Down the lower bracket is myself, waiting for the loser of the Hithrock versus Big Cheese match, and Ivory now will be facing Pancake. So, next week will be our final quarterfinal match between Hithrock and Big Cheese. And then after that, we will be on to the semifinal matches. And those lower bracket matches will be starting up here soon as well. Look out for those. As usual, those will not be on Twitch, at least not the first 2 rounds of the lower bracket. Those will only be going to our YouTube channel. So, a good opportunity for me to go find the link for any of you to find. Here it is. I'm going to post it in chat right here. As mentioned, yes, if you want to see the lower bracket matches for this year's tournament, they are not going to be on Twitch. They are not going to have a week to themselves. They are only going to be up there on our YouTube channel, along with all the archived content for the streams of this year's tournament, as well as the old tournaments and our other regular Twitch content. So, if you want to catch the lower bracket matches for this tournament, head on over there, click subscribe, and you'll see them come up in your feed. Otherwise, I want to thank you all for coming out here and joining me for this match tonight. Next week, we are going to be back with our regular morning stream, looking at, I think, the results of the HithCon tournament. We would have talked about last week, but unfortunately, we had to call off that stream. And, as mentioned, that evening, our final quarterfinal match, Hithrock and Big Cheese. Otherwise, thank you very much for taking time out of your weekend to be with me and enjoy this content. If you're watching at a future time, the recorded video, thank you for your time in the future. Yeah, that's it. Once again, thank you, everyone. Have a good night. I have been Cursed Chords, and I will see you next week.